So with this video, I'm going to actually go over a few sections in DMA 50. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in section 3. My Math Plus does a good job of explaining this section, but I do want to go over a few topics and how to use the calculator for this section, and then we get into section 4 next. The first thing is for this one here, when you're plotting, it can be kind of confusing, but all you need to do when you're plotting 1, comma, -5, always remember in the ordered pair, the first term is considered to be x, which runs left to right or horizontal. And then the second term, the second number in the ordered pair is going to be y, which runs up and down. So you always start with the x first. So I would take this, drag this little dot over to 1, and then I'm going to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is going to be your point 1, -5. So again, the first one goes left and right, and the second one goes up and down. You check answer, and we're done. So this is pretty much how you to find the ordered pair. Now, if you're trying to find the quadrant, you always start the top right-hand corner is considered to be 1. This one is number 2. This is number 3, and this is number 4. So for this one here, because the ordered pair is in the part of 4, we'll click the 4. So if it landed on the, for this one here, it has to be on the y-axis. This is number 2. This is number 3, 1. So it's just wherever the point is. So again, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So let's jump to number 12. And I want to teach you how to use the calculator to help with a lot of these answers. So long as the equation is in y equals form, meaning that y is actually by itself, then we can actually just type it into the calculator to provide the answers for the rest. If the equation is not in y equals, then we have to do some math, which we learned in DMA 40 of how to solve for x and y, trying to get it by itself and solve for the variable. This one here is already in y equals form, so y equals 1/3 x. So we can just go to our calculator, and we're going to type in 1/3 x. And then we hit second and then graph to get the table. So what we're looking for is the table to give us our x and y coordinates, because we're going to need it here. So the first one is asking for is for 0. Now you are more than welcome to click view an example, and it will tell you exactly to plug in 0 for x. 0 times 1/3 obviously is 0. But the calculator also provides the answer for you. So if you stay in the x column and scroll up and down, you can see that the answer for this one is 0, 0. Now it's going to ask for -9. So we just scroll down. You can either plug in -9 times 1/3, or you can just scroll down on your calculator, or scroll up, I'm sorry, to -9. Now notice I'm in the y side. It won't let me go up. You have to be in the x in order to go up and down. And see here 9, the answer should be -3. Sometimes you will not be able to find some of these numbers because they're actually going with fractions. So this is actually we need to probably do it by hand. They're actually you find in the y side, you need to find y. So this time in the calculator, if I stay on the y side, or actually I'm going to stay on the x side, but look on the y side. So for this one here, 5 is in the y side, so this time 15 is actually going to be the answer for x. So if you actually run into a problem where you don't see it in the calculator, then we're going to have to do the technique by hand like I showed you before. Plug it in 0, plug it in -9. This time for 15, we need to plug 5 in for y, and then bring this over by dividing by 1/3, and that gives us 15 to be the answer. Let's try one more. As you can see for this one here, it's not set equal to y like the previous one here. So this is where we have to take out a sheet of paper and get y by itself in order to use the calculator. Now again, if you do not want to use the calculator, you can just plug in 0 for x. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, go ahead and start learning how to get y by itself, because you're going to be learning a form y equals mx plus b in this section. So getting y by itself is just going to have to be their smartest way to get through DMA 50. So let's take this equation. Let's go to the example one and take the equation. So I'm going to take So I have x plus 7y is equal to 35. So I'm trying to solve for y. And I like to draw a little wall to keep things separated. I'm trying to get y by itself, so I'm going to need to move the x over. Always trying to move the variables or the number furthest away from what we're solving for. So I'm going to box this in and put a little house, because that's my little house. Now I'm going to know this is what I'm solving for, so I'm going to leave this on this side of the equal sign and not touch it. So I'm going to now move the x over by subtracting. That way this one cancels out. So I'm going to drop down y equal 7y because I didn't use it. Now I can't subtract 35 from x, so I'm just going to leave it 35 minus x. Because again, the 35 does not have an x, so you can't collect like terms here. Now I like to write my x first, because again, the formula for these graphs that you can be doing is y equals mx plus b. So the x usually comes first, and then the number comes in the back. So I'm just going to quickly switch it around. Negative x plus 35. So I just move this over to this side and then move the 35 over. Same problem, but I just like my x first. So now I'm going to get y by itself by dividing, doing the opposite to each part here. So my final answer now, because these cancel, is going to be y equals, and I can't divide the x into the 7 into the x. I'm just going to leave it, and it's understood 1 to be in front. So negative 1, 7x, and then 35 divided by 7 is going to be 5. So here is going to be my equation when y is by itself. So just to kind of recap too on what each of these parts mean. The y and the x, those are going to be just order pairs. The m is going to represent slope. And we'll go over this again further on in DMA 50. And the b represents the y-intercept. And y-intercept is always represented as 0 and then some number here. So it's an ordered pair where 0 is always first and then the number goes second. So that's what the b stands for in this problem. So you'll see this a little bit later on, but again, just to kind of look at this section here, the m, or the slope, is going to be negative 1 over 7, and then the y-intercept is going to be 0, 5. If this was a subtraction sign, then you actually make it a negative 5 over here. So let's go back now. I'm going to actually put this in the calculator now. So negative 1 divided by 7x plus 5. And then second, and then graph. And it gives me the table that I need. So let's figure out what numbers there the computer, MyMathPlus, wants us to figure out. It wants 0 first, so let's go find 0. So in the x side, I need 0. So the answer they're telling me is going to be 5, which is considered to be my y-intercept, like we discussed, because 0 is always first. The 5 is the second one, so this is considered to be my y-intercept. Now it wants us to figure out what the 0 is when we plug it in for y on the y side. So let's see if we actually have one. So I'm staying the X to go up and down. Let's see if we can find 0 in the Y side. And we do. So because 0 is in the Y side here, the X in this case is going to be 35. And then now we need 2 for Y. So let's go back up and see if we can find 2. And here it is for 2. So the answer for this one should be 21. So just like that, we actually found all 3 of these boxes. And like I said, the MyMathPlus explains by you just plugging in the number. They don't change the problem to y equals, but I kind of showed you both ways. So here's a 21 for 2. Here's the 35 for 0. And the last one should be 5 for here. So that's just a quickly overview of section 3. Let's go ahead and go through section 4 now. First problem I'm going to start with is going to be number 4. Before we get started with number 4, I want to go to my slides and just again do a slight recap of what we just discussed. So again, for the calculator, what I just showed you, for using a calculator, you always need to get y by itself using the mx plus b, what we just discussed. You hit the y equals, top left-hand corner, type in your equation, you hit second graph, and it gives you the table. For MyMathPlus, you probably need 2 order pairs in order to make a line, and I'll show you how to make a line in my MyMathPlus. So once again, the y-intercept is 0 is first. The number goes in the y part. For x-intercept, the number goes in the x, and then the y is going to be 0. So here is the example of y-intercept here. This is the y-axis, so this is where it meets and hits the y-axis, and this is where it hits the x-axis. This is why it's called y-intercept and x-intercept. So let's come to, and this I'm plotting 0, just so you need zeros for both of these here when you're plotting these intercepts. And again, I'll go back and kind of discuss this one again. But let's go to some of the examples now. So first one, number 4, this one again is not in the y equals form. Again, you just need to go ahead and practice getting into that y equals form. Let's grab one of the viewing. Actually, I'm going to actually do this one. So we have for x minus y is equal to 6. So x minus y is equal to 6. So again, we get y by itself. I'm going to minus x, negative y is equal to 6 minus x. This time I'm going to leave it in the back just so I can show you that it doesn't matter if you put it in the front or back. So I'm going to divide by -1 to get rid of that negative in front of the y because it's an understood y there. I mean understood 1 and be in front of this y. So y is equal to -6 plus x. And again, if you want to change it around, it's just going to be x minus 6. So it does not matter which one you use. Both of them are correct. It's just the way you like to see it. This, again, is going to be your typical slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to go ahead and type this in the calculator. -6 plus x, second graph. And again, we're just looking for 2 order pairs to graph. My suggestion to you, if you can find the zeros in the y-intercepts, which means the 0 over here and 0 over here, those are probably the easiest and best ones to use. So the first one is going to be 0, 6. I'm sorry, 6, 0. So 6, 0 is going to be my first order pair. And let's see if we can find the other 0, which is going to be 0, -6. So my two intercepts, or two ones I'm going to choose to plot, is going to be 6, comma 0, and then 0, comma -6. Like I said, to use the graph the ones with the zeros is the most easiest one, and it's going to be helpful later on in my here. But you could have chose any of one of those points and still got the line correct. So let's go ahead and plot it. So I'm going to click this line graph, click the line tool, and notice in the top right hand corner up here, you see how the numbers move. So our first one was 6, comma 0. So do not click until you actually see 6, comma 0. So in the top right hand corner, which is up here, is 6, comma 0. So this is where I click. That's going to be my first one. Now I need a second one in order to make our graph. Remember what it's going to be, 0, -6 that we found. So have a steady hand on your mouse to make sure you don't make it jump. And here I see 0, -6, so I click. Once I have my 2 points, this is what my line looks like. I hit save, check answer, and that's how you graph this problem. So let's do a few more examples. Let's go to number 6. So this one here, you notice that it does not have a y, this one. Usually all of them has a y and an x together. Well, if it just has one letter or one variable, then we know this is going to be a straight line. Now the question is it going to be horizontal, like running this way, left to right, or is it going to be vertical? For x's, if it has x equals -6, it needs to go through -6, and the only way to go through it is to go straight down. So let's go ahead and plot this one. So grab the line tool, we'll go to -6, and it needs to be a straight vertical line going up and down through x equals -6. I'm not going to write it this way because it's going to be on the line. See how it's on the x-axis? That's not what we want. The second point now, it does not matter. You can click it here, you can click it here, here. So long as it's straight up and down vertically is where we need to find a click to click it and to lock it in place. So I'm just picking a random one. I have both of them here, vertical line. Let's check the answer. Let me get it right. Now here's a y equals 1. So this time for the y, that runs horizontally. So that's the two things you probably want to write down. X equals is for vertical lines, y equals is for horizontal lines. So let's click it, go to number 4. So on the y, I go to 4. Again, it does not matter so long as the line is straight going left and right horizontally. And the last one I'm going to do from this section is going to be section 13. I mean, number 13. So this one here, the numbers are very big, but this is still what some of the things I want you to look at when I look at these problems here. Suppose that the number of people employed at a stars counter can be estimated if vertical. So they gave the equation y equals 23x plus 666. So we can't just put this in the calculating graphic because the numbers are so big, you won't be able to tell the graph, but you could tell what the direction of the graph should go. See, this one's going up, this one's going down, this one's going down, this one's going up. Because the slope is a positive 23, I know I can eliminate B and C because these are going downward in the slope. Just to kind of check, 23x plus 660. Now this one you probably have to hit zoom 0 to fit it because like I said, the numbers are so big. But we can see that it's going in an upward direction. So we kind of already eliminated two answers. It's either going to be A and D. So let's just take a look at each one of these. Hit the enlarge tool to kind of see what here. So what we need to do is probably get an order pair to figure out, does that line go through the order pair? So go back to the graph and hit second graph, and let's find an ordered pair. Let's just try 2 and 706. So 2 and 706. So we go over 2, 1, 2. So this is 2, and I need to go up to 706. So 1, 2, and these going up by hundreds. So let's try to get it just a tad bit bigger. There we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like it's slightly below the 7 marking, but let's just try D just to make sure that it might fit better. So 1, 2, and then up to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like the 706 looks like it's going to be right. But just to be sure, again, we can just go down a little further. And let's try 8 now. 8 and 844. So 8 and 844. So looking at this one, go over to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 844. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is this line. So if I go up to the middle, that's 750. Remember, I'm looking for 844. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then up a little bit makes it 844. So it looks like D is going to be the answer and the closest to it. And it says now, does the point 6, 798 lie on the line? So you don't need to look at these lines here. We actually have it in our calculator already. So let's go down to 6, or up to 6. And it's supposed to be 6 and 798, which it does. So it matches what we have here. So yes, it does go through that line, that final point. So that's a little bit oh, there's one more. So then we're gonna have to repeat, what does the result of this means? So we need to predict for. So where did we start in? What year we started in 2002. So if I use 6 as my year, because that's going to be represented as the X, 6 years from here is going to be 2008. And what does it say about 2008? It's going to be 798 hundreds. So don't forget the hundreds now. We didn't write it up here, but all these graphs here is supposed to be in hundreds place. So we look at here as far as in here, we're looking for the 100 spot in for 2008. So here it says the model will be there for 700 and more than 200. I don't think it's going to be more than it. And then here for it is not going to be 708 because again we're in 100 spot. So I think it says the model predicts here will be 79,800 stars in 2008 because this is the exact number here. So it looks like D is going to be our answer. So that's going to be all of for section 4 and just a little bit of section 3.